Hi, I'm Dr. Jerry Burns, and today we're going to be talking about the difference between crowns versus veneers. So the goal today is that after watching this video, you'll have a good understanding of the difference, and there is a big difference. We get this all the time. Questions asked. People come in, clients come in and want to have their smile changed, want to have their smile enhanced. And the question usually comes up, is this going to be a crown or is this going to be a veneer, and what is the difference? So hopefully today I'll explain that for you so you have a better understanding. Crowns technically have been around for a long time, and the original reason that we had those was for structural integrity, meaning the tooth wasn't strong enough to hold itself up, and so we needed something stronger in order to rebuild the tooth. And that could be because of breakdown, it could be because of cavity, it could be that the tooth broke off. Whatever that reason, a crown was to reinforce that so you were able to chew, eat, and or smile. Let's talk a little bit about the material. So a crown and a veneer are made of the same materials routinely, but crowns come in many different materials. And it's important to understand that, because we'll have a lot of clients come in and that have had their smiles done and they're not happy with it. And the reason they're not happy with it is because of the materials it was done in. And so a crown, again, was originally done for structural purposes. It's important to note with a crown also that it's usually we have to reduce the tooth 360 degrees around it. So you may have also heard of a crown called a cap, and it's kind of what it is. It sits on top of the tooth, but we have to remove 360 degrees of the tooth in order to get the cap or crown on. We have all porcelain, which is what a veneer is, and we also have zirconium, which is a newer material that is a porcelain looking, but it's actually a metal. So let's back up. Porcelain fused to metal, routinely when you have individuals doing cosmetic makeovers that may or may not know exactly what they're doing, a lot of times they'll do it with that porcelain fused to metal. Anything that doesn't allow light to pass through it is going to give you a very fake, opaque look. Or veneers that are all porcelain will allow light through. And if you think of a natural tooth, your natural tooth allows light to penetrate all the way through. If you put gold, if you put porcelain fused to metal, or you put zirconium, those materials do not let light pass through, and so you kind of get that really fake look. Some people call it a chiclet look. You know it when you see it because it just doesn't look very natural. I like to explain a veneer as a fake fingernail that you can buy. The ladies use it and they glue onto the finger to make their finger longer or change the shape. It's a thin shell of porcelain, usually between 0.3 and 0.5 millimeters in thickness, which is about half the thickness of a dime, so it's not very much. That wraps around the front of the tooth and over the edge of the tooth, sometimes interproximally or on the flossing surfaces of the tooth. It allows us to do a bunch of different things. It allows us to change the color, allows us to change the shape. If you have crooked teeth, that we can straighten those out with it. We can do a lot of things with the veneer, and it's very conservative. Remember earlier I said with a crown we have to do 360 degrees around. We have to remove tooth structure. With a veneer, we only have to remove enough tooth structure in order to get the veneer on and do what it is that we're intending to do, whether it be rotate a tooth, lengthen a tooth, shorten a tooth, widen a tooth, whatever it is that we want to do, that's all the tooth structure we have to remove. So we get an incredible cosmetic result, we can get an incredible functional result, we can give you the smile that you want, we can change the color, we can do all of that and be very conservative with your natural tooth structure. So we also get a question when we're asked about crowns and veneers, how long do they last? And that's a great question. I have seen in my career, I've seen crowns that have lasted 50, 60 years, and I've seen them last 2 or 3 months. Likewise, veneers we've been doing about 30 years. I've seen veneers that are on for 30 years, and I've seen veneers that only last a few months. And there's a lot that is involved in that. The main, if everything's done correctly, and what I mean by that is the bite is taken care of, we've managed the bite correctly, then usually they fail because of what we call recurrent decay, or you get a cavity around the veneer or the crown. So people say all the time, my crowns are failing. It's not necessarily the crown is failing. Structurally, the crown is okay. It's that you're getting a cavity or breakdown around that crown. Same thing can happen with a veneer. The veneer stops at some point, just like the crown, and there's tooth underneath it or around it. And that tooth, if it breaks down, can cause failure. Now, that being said, if the bite isn't taken in consideration when you're having this done, and we see this a lot with people coming in with broken veneers. Why are they breaking? They think the material's not right. They think the previous person did something wrong. But if you don't take in consideration how you bite, how you chew your food, and you put this pretty porcelain on the teeth, you can break it off. And so it needs somebody that knows how to manage a bite in order to do that correctly. All that being said, if you manage the bite's managed correctly, you are taking care of your teeth, seeing the dentist on a regular basis, not getting cavities, you should expect your veneers to last 20, 30, 40 years or more. Another question that we get all the time is cost. And of course, that's always huge on everybody's mind, and rightfully so. It's a big investment either way you go. Usually, veneers will run more than crowns. And the reason for that is, even though in my description of the two, the veneers are thinner, there's less material, they're much harder to do. There's a lot more training that's involved. Being more conservative with the tooth, the prep design or the shape of them is different. It is a harder procedure to do than a crown procedure. It usually takes a little bit longer as well. So all that involved, a veneer will usually run more, usually on the tune of a couple $100 more than a crown. Crowns usually range between $800 to $1,500. Veneers are going to be in that range of $1,000 to $1,600, $1,700. So once we've gone over a smile design and we've talked about what it is that you want to have done to your teeth and what your expectations are, then we have a better idea of understanding whether you're going to need a crown or a veneer, or maybe somewhere in between. And our goal is to conserve tooth structure. So anytime that we can do a veneer, we want to do the veneer because it's less reduction of your tooth. We can preserve more of your tooth structure, which means it's going to last longer, feel more natural. It's just better all the way around. Once we have your design and we know exactly what we want to do, then we'll know how much we have to do and how much porcelain we're going to need, and that will dictate whether we're going to be doing a crown or a veneer. If you already have a crown and we're going to change that out, then we can't do a veneer at that point. The tooth has already been removed for your crown, existing crown, and so if we're just replacing it or changing it out for color or shape, then it will still have to be a crown. If you've had a lot of fillings in your teeth, a lot of people will come in and they've had 3 or 4 different fillings in their front teeth over the years. We have to remove all of that. A lot of times, once we get all of that out of there, it's just better structurally and functionally to have a crown than it is to have a veneer. And if you have any questions or concerns about what we talked about today, please leave your questions down below. Be more than happy to answer them. Go to birdsdentistry.com if you have any questions. We can answer stuff there. There's a lot of information on the website. And thanks for joining.